The incomplete and sometimes contradictory information came in the first days of the investigation.
We believe this was an isolated, targeted attack on our victims.
Those words echoed in the press, perhaps leaving the impression that the police knew something that should make the public less worried. But some residents and neighbors near the crime scene were not comforted by the terms targeted and isolated.
At first, I thought that they actually had something going, so you think that makes sense, like, oh, it's targeted, and you wait to see, what they say, but now they've said nothing and that they know nothing. So how can you say it's targeted?
Then the local mayor went further, telling the New York Times it could have been, quote, a crime of passion, later clarifying that was just one possibility.
They don't want people to panic. And yet, unless you have the evidence that you are willing to share with the public and be transparent about how the investigation is going, these words are completely giving false confidence.
But police say they can't share their entire case for fear of compromising the investigation.
You can't just put that out into the public's eye. It would impede the investigation, and ultimately it might impede justice at the very end of this.
But with no suspect identified, many students packed up and left town.
There's no perp caught or anything, so it's definitely uneasy on campus right now.
By day 4, police recognized their assurances of public safety weren't resonating as residents fixated on the fact a killer was not caught. Police Chief James Fry went before the cameras.
We cannot say that there's no threat to the community.
Still calling the crime targeted, but pulling back on assurances there was no public threat and pledging to release more.
I probably should have been standing here a day or so ago, but I'm here now.
Between 2016 and 2021, there were no murders in Moscow. So when the quadruple homicide stunned this town, the 36-person police force was pressed into unprecedented action. With no full-time communications staff.
The messaging was a little bit off.
Idaho State Police were brought in to assist with public messaging.
And really put out, hopefully, the best information we can.
But the rumor mill has been hard to control. A report of a man loitering at a food truck near 2 of the victims was knocked down by police, who later said they eliminated the man as a suspect. Reports that someone's pet dog was, quote, skinned 3 weeks before the killings are also believed to be unrelated. Meanwhile, police are trying to protect the integrity of the investigation.
If you flood the public with information of everything that's going on, then stories might start emerging.
Stories are already emerging. Rumors are emerging.
Yeah, unfortunately, rumors are out there. People want answers. A lot of times, or all the time on TV, these are solved within 60 minutes. There's an appetite to make sure these are done, and we totally respect that. We will put out as much information as we can, as soon as we can.
Though some victims' families have expressed frustration with the lack of information.
Together, we want to extend gratitude to the following.
This week, the family of Ethan Chapin acknowledged answers and justice can only come now from police.
The Moscow Police Department now carry the burden every day, not only for us, but for all of the impacted families.
I asked about the threat level to the community given the initial confusion of that message, and Aaron Snell here told me that it's always a good idea to be vigilant since the suspect hasn't been caught, saying that it's a good idea to walk in pairs, to lock doors at night, and he did not rule the possibility of perhaps more than one person responsible for these killings. I also asked about this being a targeted attack, and he reiterated that they still believe that it was, based on evidence found at the scene and the fact that 2 people in the house survived the attack. So if it were a bit more non-discriminate, that perhaps everyone might have died. We hope to hear much more information coming out at a press conference tomorrow at 1 p.m. local time. John.
I'm interested in what the viewers think in regards to the handling of this case. I mean, first it was a targeted attack. It was not a targeted attack. It could have been a crime of passion. It could have been drugs. Took 2 weeks to get the cars removed from the property. And did you guys see that video of the cars being towed away? Did you guys happen to see where their, landing place was? The cars are still sitting outside covered in snow, with all that evidence being erased by the elements. This police department is going to have a lot to answer for at the end of this investigation.